high and the mighty will fall.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metza. We've got the 4th of July coming up right around the corner, and there's a great show coming up on July 16th in Crooners Belvedere Room called Woody Guthrie Coast to Coast, featuring two of my favorite folk singers and good friends, Charlie Maguire and Pop Wagner, celebrating one of possibly America's greatest folk singer, and there was no one more American than Woody Guthrie. We've got Charlie and Pop on the bat phone tonight, but we're going to start with Charlie Maguire, who wrote a great review that got played in, I believe, 70 or 80 newspapers about the great Woody Guthrie book called Woody Guthrie Songs, Art, Words, and Wisdom, written by Nora Guthrie, Robert Santelli, with a powerful assist by Nora's daughter, Anna Canoni. So, Charlie, tell us a little bit about the book, and then we'll talk about the show here in a little bit and listen to some music as well.
Yeah, Paul, and it's good to hear your voice. The great thing about the book was that this is the greatest collection of Woody Guthrie songs, prose pieces, photos in a generation, and published by Chronicle, which is known as a really great visual publisher. You know, in other words, they do great pictures, they do great copies of things when they publish, and the essays were great as well. Some of them by Douglas Brinkley. Nora herself, Arlo Guthrie wrote something. Ani DeFranco wrote something, you know, and on and on. It's well worth having around if you are into Woody Guthrie at all.
I was so fortunate to meet Nora years ago, and she sent me a comped copy signed. I was delighted to get it in the mail. It's a big book, but like you said, Charlie, the publisher did such a great job with the visuals. There's actually, like copies of This Land Is Your Land on the original legal pad, pictures, drawings. And that book, when I picked it up and started to read it, and I read a little bit every night, it's a living and breathing document. You can feel Woody right there in your living room.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Paul. And Nora has done a great job with the book, and also what I didn't know until I was there was she worked with the Morgan Library in New York to do an actual exhibit based on the book. So that ran for about, maybe 3-4 months, and closed on the 22nd of May. And that was kind of like a way that you could go, if you could walk into that book, that's what you could do at the Morgan Library.
Well, it's a phenomenal book. Check out Woody Guthrie Publications. And for those of you out there in the Wall of Power Radio Hour listening audience, buy it for anyone that loves folk music, America, humor, political advice, and more. I mean, the thing about Woody is, Charlie, no one knows better than you about this. His stuff is so contemporary and so up to date, though he wrote a lot of it in the 40s. The things he was talking about, fascism and the rest, is still on the front burner today. Someone
asked me. They said, as you travel around coast to coast with Woody, what's changed, since 1940? And I say, well, unfortunately, very little.
Yeah. Well, you've got your partner in crime there, Pop Wagner, with you. And I saw the last Woody show you did, I'm going to say it was a couple of years ago, at the Belvedere Room at Crooners, which is in Fridley. But Pop, tell us a little bit about what people can expect with the Woody Guthrie Coast to Coast show that you and Charlie are putting on.
Well, there are going to be a number of songs that people have never heard before in the show, and some of the ones that we have done before. We'll mix and match and put them in an order that's going to be entertaining. And each one of the songs will be introduced with one or both of us reading some of Woody's own words. We'll be the voice, but we'll be speaking Woody's words from start to finish in this show, and a lot of it's brand new from the book, and we're quite looking forward to the event. And
Pop, when I got the book about 6 weeks ago, there's pictures of Woody Guthrie as a baby, and then pictures of his different family members, and including his mom and dad. But there's some great shots of Woody when he's in that cowboy band with the chaps on and the cowboy hat. So I'm wondering if Pop Wagner is going to pull out any of his rope and cowboy tricks at the Woody Guthrie Coast to Coast.
Well, I hadn't planned on that. I'll wear my hat. I'll go that far. But yeah, that's the rope tricks are something. I don't know if Woody ever did that. We're pretty much sticking with this show to stuff that Woody did. I do have a pair of chaps, not the fuzzy Angora ones like Woody had in that picture, but yeah, that's a great picture. I know exactly what you're talking about. That's the one he's playing the bass in that picture, isn't he?
Oh yeah, no, it's what a life that man had. So when did you and Charlie Maguire, our other guest tonight in the Wall of Power Radio Hour, you did a similar show with Tony Glover several years ago. Talk about Tony's shadow influence on this new show, though he passed a few years ago, and it might be the last time any of us ever got a chance to see Spider John Kerner play. But tell us a little bit about working with Tony Glover with one of your first Woody Guthrie presentations.
Well, it was Tony had a lot to do with the idea of doing this show in the first place, because he a number of years ago got a tape to Charlie that was a Woody Guthrie song that none of us had ever heard before, and it was John Cohen doing it, right? Is that right, Charlie?
Yeah, it was a radio show that John Cohen had taped on a wire recorder, Paul.
Yeah.
Wow.
Back around 1947, of Woody singing High Floods and Low Waters on Oscar Brand's radio show on WQXR in New York.
And that's how the idea came about. The idea from that came about to collaborate and do some of Woody's well-known songs, but also some of the ones that were not well-known. And we even took a few that had never been set to music and put some music to it and did those songs in the shows. We did quite a few shows with Tony back then, and took a library tour and did shows at the Dakota and at Crooners. I think we did one at the Ginkgo Coffee House too. Most of them were around Woody's birthday each year, and then we started branching out from that.
Paul, when we rehearse, we use the same rehearsal sheets that we did when Tony was alive. So wherever Tony put in his harp parts, his harmonica parts, we still use those same sheets. So it's like he's rehearsing with us even now.
Well, and one of the greatest musicians, certainly one of the hippest cats in the Twin Cities, for sure, and we miss him dearly. I think this is a good time. We're going to be playing 3 songs on tonight's show. Why don't, whichever, whether it's Pop or Charlie, why don't you give us the spoken word intro to Pastures of Plenty, and then we'll play that song performed by my guests Charlie Maguire and Pop Wagner.
Thanks, Paul. This is mine. Reading from Woody's words. This will be the introduction to that song. It says, "Men fight to feed their own faces. But the real fighting don't start till he hears his woman or his kids a whimpering or a crying or a singing about something to eat. Then you better look out. It's the women that get the men a-moving. If you're trying to cheat them out of their home and their clothes and their education and their fair, square share, try to get by without working, beat those folks out of all they got, you damn sure better look out.
Oh, that is so
That's
brilliant.
Woody Guthrie.
And now this is Passion of Plenty. This is Pop Wagner and Charlie Maguire, correct?
That's right.
With Tony Glover.
With Tony Glover. We're going to listen to that. Be back for 2 more segments on the Wall of Power Radio Hour with my guests, Charlie Maguire and Pop Wagner.
Mighty hard road that these poor hands have hold. My poor feet have traveled the hot, dusty roads. Out of your dust bowl and westward we roll. And your deserts were hot and your mountains were cold. I worked in your orchards, peaches and prunes. I've slept on the ground by the light of the moon. On the edge of your city you see us, and then we come with the dust and we go with the wind.
California, Arizona, I make all your crops. It's north up to Oregon to gather your hops. Dig the beets from your ground, cut the grapes from your vine. To set on your table your light, sparkling wine.
Pastures of plenty from dry desert ground, from the Grand Coulee Dam where the water run down. Every state in this union us migrants have been. We'll work in this fight and we'll fight till we win. Oh, it's always we ramble that river and I. All along your green valley I'll work till I die. My land I'll defend with my life if need be, 'cause my pastures of plenty must always be free.
Welcome back to the second set of the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metza. My guests tonight, my old friends Charlie Maguire and Pop Wagner. They've got a show coming up at the Belvedere Room at Crooners Supper Club in Fridley called Woody Guthrie Coast to Coast. And it's a 4 p.m. show for those of you that don't stay out late. It's made just for you. So Charlie Maguire, tell us about your initial interest Woody Guthrie, how you got turned on to him, and your time spent with the great Lee Hayes, who was in the Weavers.
You know, Lee and Woody were good buddies almost from the time Woody hit New York in 1940. Lee had been down in Arkansas working with field hands down there, and was in New York already when Woody arrived in 1940. Well, probably February of that time, and they were really good friends. And I ran into Lee. I think it was 1972 in the town of Croton-on-Hudson, New York. Lee had a cottage up there on the same in the same neighborhood that Simon and Garfunkel and Alan Funt and before them Isadora Duncan lived. Croton is just far enough away from Manhattan to feel like the country, and Lee could easily go into New York if he needed to. But at that time, he was semi-retired. I remember sitting with him one afternoon when the UPS driver came to the door with a plaque from ASCAP. That's the songwriters, royalty people that collect and that you're either BMI, ASCAP, or CSAC if you're a songwriter. And Lee and Pete had assigned "If I Had a Hammer," the Hammer song, to ASCAP and they had just sent Lee a plaque for 1 million performances for profit.
I've got a fun little story if I can jump in there, Charlie Maguire. I did an interview with Dar Williams, who lived in she was living in the Hudson Valley, not far down the road from the great Pete Seeger, and she tells the story. She went into a hardware store once and saw Pete Seeger buying a hammer.
Well, for all those people that are interested, I used to wash Lee Hayes' windows, so I guess we're kind of even.
So what was it like? What kind of stories would, when you guys sat around the kitchen table, what kind of stories would Lee tell you about Woody and the Weavers in New York City back in the day?
Well, it was hard to get Lee to talk about the past. He always wanted to, he considered himself retired or semi-retired, and you had to know a lot about gardening and carpentry and just general home cooking, and especially if you could make bread, you definitely had it in with Lee. And then after a while, after he got to know you a little bit better, then you could kind of start asking questions about things. And actually, Lee was very, very close to Pete. They had been corresponding and had been friends, since the 40s. But as far as Woody went, Lee preferred a lot of the time to talk about Woody's great friend, Cisco Houston. Lee loved Cisco, and he loved him as a friend, and he loved him as a performer, and he loved him because he was a decent guy. Because one thing that, unfortunately, that Woody was not sometimes was someone who, behaved himself socially, shall we say. And Cisco was exactly the opposite. And Lee loved telling stories about him.
Charlie, and I've got Cisco Houston sings Woody Guthrie, and, Woody wasn't exactly Enrico Caruso, but not only was Cisco a great singer, but a really handsome guy, and I believe he spent some time in the Merchant Marines with Woody.
Yeah, he did. Cisco's brother, Slim Houston, was actually killed in the North Atlantic while in the Merchant Marine, and that got Cisco really upset. And although his eyesight would have kept him out of the Army, like so many of his generation, staying out of the service was not something that people thought about. I mean, everybody wanted to get into the fight, and so Cisco lied about his infirmity. I don't know if he memorized the wall chart at the optometrist office or what, but he joined, and then he went over to see his buddy Woody, who was living on Coney Island at that time. finished publishing Bound for Glory, and he said, you know, you're a man of the people, but you're not with the people right now. You write songs about beating Hitler, but you're not doing it yourself. He said, I think you ought to ship out with me. And that's what Woody did.
Wow.
And they were on 3 ships total, and Woody was one ship was torpedoed, but they made it into North Africa. One ship was hit a landmine off the coast of Normandy during D-Day, or a little bit, or maybe D+13, somewhere in there. And then there was another close call as well. But Woody's ships, he said, torpedoed twice, sunk once on his fiddle. He carved that right on his fiddle, which, by the way, was on display at the Morgan Library a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I wish I could have seen that exhibit. Did you, Charlie Maguire, did you ever get a chance to meet Jimmy Longy?
No, I never met Jimmy, but he's a colorful character. If you've ever want to meet Jimmy, though, the next best thing is his book, Woody Guthrie and Me, and that's still in print. You can find it here and there, and it's Jimmy's story of shipping out with Woody and Cisco, and brings Woody to life in a way that even his own words did not do.
I had the honor of meeting Jimmy Longy at the 1996 tribute to Woody Guthrie, sponsored by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There was, I used to tell Nora, I referred to it as Woody Camp, because it was about 3 or 4 days of seminars and concerts. And Jimmy got up at one of the, he wasn't on the panel, but he got up to tell a story, and he had tears in his eyes. And he told the story about how they were torpedoed once, and Woody grabbed his guitar and went below deck to sing to the Marines and sailors down there who didn't know if they were going to sink or not. Shows the kind of bravery that Woody had.
Yeah. When it came to having a big heart, Jimmy Longy was really one of the greats. And that story that he told about Woody going down to calm the men during the night when the U-boats were close by was a true story.
Yeah.
And Woody said something like, well, we'll sing and that'll screw up their radar so they won't be able to aim at us.
Charlie, I love getting these insights into the insights. So, for those of you that are listening to the Wall of Power Radio Hour, my guests are 2 of the best folk singers in the Midwest, Charlie Maguire and Pop Wagner. And they've got a show coming up called Woody Guthrie Coast to Coast, July 16th at Crooners Belvedere Room at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. The next song we're going to hear performed by Charlie and Pop is Oklahoma Hills, and we're going to have a little spoken word intro, which is going to be the kind of stuff you'll be hearing at Woody Guthrie Coast to Coast. Take it away. Who's ever going to read next?
Okay, this one's my turn, and here we go. Oklahoma is a very rich state. You want oil in Oklahoma? Just go down a hole and get it. If you want coal, why, we've got coal in Oklahoma. Just go down a hole and get it. You want lead? Why, we've got lead mines. Go down in a hole and get you some lead. If you want food, clothes, groceries, well, just go in a hole and stay there.
Many a month has come and gone since I wandered from my home in the Oklahoma hills where I was born. Many a page of life has turned, many lessons I have learned, and I feel like in those hills I still belong. Way down yonder on the Indian Nation, rode my pony on the reservation in the Oklahoma hills where I was born. Way down down yonder on the Indian Nation, a cowboy's life was my occupation in the Oklahoma hills where I was born. But as I stand here today, many miles I am away from the place I rode my pony through the draw, where the oak and the blackjack trees kiss that playful prairie breeze, and I feel like in those hills I still belong. Way down yonder on the Indian Nation, I rode my pony on the reservation in the Oklahoma hills where I was born. Way down yonder on the Indian Nation, a cowboy's life is my occupation in the Oklahoma hills where I was born. Now as I turn a life-filled page to the land of the great old sage, in those Oklahoma hills where I was born, where the black oil rolls and flows and the snow-white cotton grows, and I feel like in those hills I still belong. Way down yonder on the Indian Nation, rode my pony on the reservation in the Oklahoma hills where I was born. Way down yonder on the Indian Nation, a cowboy's life was my occupation in the Oklahoma hills where I was born. Yes, in those Oklahoma hills where I was born.
Welcome back to the third set of the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metza. My guests, Charlie Maguire and Pop Wagner, two great folk musicians that are putting on Woody Guthrie Coast to Coast at Crooners Belvedere Room on July 16th. Now, Charlie, when I started to get into Woody Guthrie back in the day and then had the pleasure of meeting Nora Guthrie and Harold Leventhal and Fred Hellerman at Woody Guthrie Publications on West 57th while they were starting to put the archives together in 95 and 96. It really blew my mind at how expansive a character Woody Guthrie was. Can you speak to that from your point of view?
Yeah, and I want to talk about the shopping bags where all that stuff was kept for a while too, Paul.
Thanks to Marjorie.
You have to.
Marjorie. Yeah, keep going.
You have to. Go ahead.
No, go. You tell us.
You have to. Everyone has to know that, you know, in all the books that have been published, and they've been pretty regular since about 1965 when Robert Shelton put out a book called Born to Win that had, you know, the first of Woody's writings in it, and culminating now with this first in a generation wonderful compilation of Woody's work, Woody Guthrie, Songs and Art and Words and Wisdom. And, you know, Nora's done a great job, so many people over the years, but the person we really have to thank is Woody's second wife, Marjorie Guthrie, who, if she hadn't saved that stuff, you know, if she hadn't saved it, we wouldn't have it now. I mean, I remember her telling me bringing it in grocery bags, you know, cardboard boxes, you know, just, you know, now people handle all this stuff with white gloves, but in those days, she was just shoving it in the grocery bags, old cardboard boxes, any way she could get it, because Woody was writing or doing something, painting, sculpting every single minute of every single day, it seemed. And he wrote on everything. I mean, he even wrote on books that were already printed. He wrote his words on top of that if he couldn't find a piece of paper. So they saved all that, and it wouldn't have happened without her.
Yeah, I always have a vision in my mind of Woody sitting up at the typewriter, and Marjorie wakes up in the morning, there's an empty bottle of wine on the desk, and the garbage can full of crumpled paper, things that Woody was writing the night before. Yeah, I mean, we have her to thank. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. It may be Woody Guthrie, but it was the women in Woody's life that really made it possible to get to know him as well as we have. Woody's wife, Marjorie, right? His daughter, Nora, and his granddaughter, Anna, too. Have all made a contribution.
It's been a real honor to know Nora. Not only is she astute and knowledgeable, but she, as you know, she is a gas to hang out with. She's a lot of fun, as is Anna. But Nora has really done such an incredible job with the Woody Guthrie Archives. Have you been down to Tulsa to the Woody Guthrie Center, Charlie or Pop?
No, neither of us have.
Well, you got to take the show
got
on
around
there.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping to work our way down there one of these days, Paul. But like you, I was in the office on 57 before the archive was moved. But haven't been down to Oklahoma. Pop and I hope to work our way down there. One of these days we'll just play our way down there and take a. Pop came close last year. Remember, Pop, when you were?
It was the year before last. It was I was on my way home, and but we had a benefit for the Huntington's Foundation that I wanted to get back for, and it would have taken me an extra day. So I was coming back from Arizona, and I took the shortcut, and I skipped going to Oklahoma City.
And of course, Huntington's career was what Woody eventually succumbed to. I was there the week that the original manuscript for This Land Is Your Land came in. And, when I held it in my hands, in my white gloves, I felt like I was holding the Magna Carta. And there was a great musician from Stillwater, Oklahoma, who's not with us anymore, named Jimmy LaFave, who I was happy to say I introduced Jimmy LaFave to Nora Guthrie, which was a great working relationship that went on for a long time until Jimmy's passing just a few years ago. In fact, I think Jimmy's got his own reserved seat at the Woody Guthrie Theater in Okemah, Oklahoma. But Jimmy told me, and now Nora hasn't confirmed this, that when Nora got it, she went down to the local Kinko's on West 57th in New York City to make copies of it. And when she got back, she did what all of us have done, left the original copy in the copier. Now, I'm not sure if Jimmy was just feed me a line of bull or if it actually happened. And Nora, I haven't confirmed it with Nora, but it's such a beautifully absurd and borderline tragic thing had they never recovered it. I want to at least put that out there into the lines of urban myth and legend now. So, Pop and Charlie, how did you decide which songs to use for your upcoming show, Woody Guthrie Coast to Coast?
That was a tough decision. Some of it was new material that we found in the book, and taking another look and another run at songs we have done in the past, and changing the order, changing the story that goes with it, that sort of thing.
We also, Paul, are introducing songs that are not in the show that, Woody was big on highways. We're going to be hearing from Hard Traveling here pretty soon. And we've got a new song on the show called the Will Rogers Highway that Woody talks about, the old Route 66. And we got a lot of road songs in this one. And we tried to construct the show so that for an hour and 15 minutes, you start on one coast and you end up on the other coast, just like the review did that I wrote that came out last November, which went to coast, and also the U.S. Virgin Islands, of all places. So we've got some really good, we cover a lot of geography in an hour and 15 minutes.
I was just, I got my kicks on the very end of Route 66. I was in California all last week at the largesse of my good friend, actor and musician Chris Mulkey. We saw 2 Bob Dylan shows, which were phenomenal, and did other things. But one of the things we did, we went to Mel's Diner, which is they call that the very end of Route 66. So I was just there last week, and it was a really good breakfast too, by the way. So where are you guys planning on touring Woody Guthrie Coast to Coast after the gig, July 16th at the Crooners Belvedere Room?
Well, we're open for offers. Anyone wants us, give us a call. We'll go anywhere coast to coast if it all works out. But we don't have anything written in stone just yet.
I can tell you on good authority, Paul, like you were on the West Coast. I was on the East Coast looking at the Woody stuff at the Morgan Library, and I'll tell you, the country is waking up. We're on the move.
Yeah, well, and it's about time. So, Pop Wagner and Charlie Maguire, it's always such a pleasure chatting with you two, hanging with you two. So we're going to end this episode of the Wall of Power Radio Hour with an actual Woody Guthrie recording of his song Hard Travelin'. And God knows he had some hard traveling in his life. A lot of people out there having hard traveling right now. So why don't you guys set it up for me?
All right. The legal tender of the busking singer is songs, poems, spirituals, shouts, chants, grunts, anything that can be written down to rhyme or time. Take some simple ballads like Hard Traveling or This Land is Made for You and Me, and follow our tracks from coast to coast.
And we'll go down highways and railroads. We'll stop off and spend the night or an hour or a couple of days with every kind and type of person that you might see on such a trip. We're going to climb the back fences. We're going to open the front gate.
And now, Woody Guthrie doing Hard Traveling'. Thank you, Charlie Maguire. Thank you, Pop Wagner. Woody Guthrie Coast to Coast, July 16th. Crooners Belvedere Room, 4 p.m. Good luck with the show, guys, and I hope to see you on down the road.
Thanks a lot, Paul. We certainly appreciate it, and just stay in touch with us. You sound great, and you look good on Facebook, too, there, buddy.
Yeah, and I'll get those.
Thank you.
I'll get those MP3 files to you, Brett.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Keep up the great work.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, Paul. Thank you.
I've been having some hard traveling, I thought you knowed. I've been having some hard traveling way down the road. I've been having some hard traveling, hard rambling, hard gambling. Been having some hard traveling, Lord. I've been riding them fast rattlers, I thought you knowed. I've been riding them flat wheelers way down the road. I've been riding them blind passengers, dead enders, kicking up cinders. I've been having some hard traveling, Lord. I've been hitting some hard rock mining, I thought you knowed. I've been leaning on a pressure drill way down the road. Hammer flying, air hole sucking, 6 foot of mud, and a sure been a mucking. And I've been hitting some hard traveling, Lord. I've been hitting some hard harvesting, I thought you knowed. North Dakota to Kansas City, way down the road. cutting that wheat, stacking that hay, and I'm trying to make about $1 a day. And I've been having some hard traveling, Lord. I've been working at Pittsburgh Steel, I thought you knowed. I've been a-dumping that red-hot slag way down the road. I've been a-blasting, I've been a-firing, I've been a-pouring red-hot iron, and I've been a-hitting some hard traveling, Lord. I've been a-laying in a hard rock jail, I thought you knowed. I've been a-laying out 90 days way down the road. Damn old judge said to me, it's 90 days for vagrancy. I've been a-hitting some hard traveling, Lord.
Thanks for listening to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. The show is produced by Paul Metza, engineered by the great Patrick Lilia. We'd like to thank our guests Charlie Maguire and Pop Wagner. My book, Alphabet Jazz Poetry, Prose, Stories, and Song, is coming out first part of September. Follow me at paulmetza.com to find out more about that and other places I am playing. Hope everybody's enjoying the summertime. Have a safe 4th of July. And like my dad used to tell me, remember to be kind and make someone happy.
Someday, the high and the mighty will fall. There will be no power brokers. The wall of power will fall. And someday, the high and the mighty will fall. There will be no power brokers. The wall of power will fall. In the time before the fire, in the time before the weed, strong man would walk the earth, keep the weak man beneath his feet. No one told the weak man what his life was worth, and no one told the strong man that the meek shall inherit the earth. Someday the high and the mighty will fall. There will be no power brokers. The wall of power will fall. Someday the high and the mighty will fall. There will be no power brokers. The wall of power will fall. You can't keep me in the corner.